Chapter 9, Top Performance Through Empowerment, Teamwork, and Communications. Thank you for attending this class, and we're going to go over how important it is in business to perform well when you are empowered as an employee. We're going to talk about the nature of teamwork and communication. The learning objectives are attached here. How do we empower employees, the types of teams, and the characteristics of those teams, what cohesiveness means within a teamwork context, what happens with team conflict, what the importance of it actually, and then how effective is how effective communication, how important that is, and also the forms of communications, comparing those. And then finally, we'll end with dealing with external communications and crisis management. We talk about empowering employees. People work to achieve a common goal, maybe personal goals for financial responsibilities, but we never talk too much about empowering them. How do we empower them? How do we make them feel and believe that they are an important part of a bigger picture, and how their decisions help the company? So when we give them responsibilities, we want to give them the authority to carry out those tasks. And that truly does lift employees' morale, simply because they know that they have the responsibility of getting something done, but they have the authority to get it done. And it's so important, and you can't have one without the other. Sharing information does help in the decision-making process. It's really important that people are involved, that even if it's a small part in the process of making decisions about whether the company goes in what direction or not. But more than that, keeping them informed about the progress, about financial performance, what's going on with their organization, how can I help? Employees really do care about the companies they work for. They're committed to the time and effort, and as you know, time is yours and it doesn't come back. So when they are rewarded by just being informed about what's going on, it truly gives them that empowerment, that strength that they need to continue to work hard. But it also, giving broad authority does allow the organization to be more efficient. It's like a more of a slim line, or a less top-down type of authority. If they have the authority to get their jobs done, it's best for the customers, it's best for everyone involved. Work gets done, decisions are made, and it's things that just sit and sit and sit until a meeting is held for people to make the decisions. Organizations empower employees by providing them some type of reward. It's nothing wrong with getting rewards for top performance. How do you reward for performance? Some companies, particularly those that are uh, public companies, they allow employees to achieve ownership. And that's a big, big deal. Not all companies can do this, because not all companies are publicly held, but those that are, and they intend to share in their profits and their ownership, this is a big, big bonus for individuals, and it does empower them to do the best work and to produce the best results. And these are just two types of ownership options that are available under a certain set of circumstances for organizations, for employees in certain organizations. I cannot say enough about how important teams are to an organization. Many years ago, teams were something of a rare event, isolated mostly to IT professionals who come together to develop software and achieve these creative responsibilities. But now teams are just a part of everyday work. It's incredibly important that we have these teams, because they come together with a single purpose, and they work together to achieve a goal. And it's just amazing to see how people can work together with diverse groups of backgrounds and education, that they can come together and create a product through their efforts. They're all mutually accountable to one another, and they work together to achieve this goal. So there's always that communication issue involved, but also accountability and responsibility as well. Work teams are a subset of a team. They work together, really committed to a single purpose. They are more daily type of activities, and work teams could very well be a permanent part of your environment, or it could be specific to a job. And it's important to note that at the United States, most good deal of those organizations are implement a teamwork environment, and they're coming to see how important it is and how effective it is in keeping people motivated and the work being done well. Um, the species of teams. Well, there are five aspects of teams, and one is a self-managed team, cross-functional, virtual work teams, and problem solving. each have their different skills and their advantages and drawbacks, but at the end of the day, they are specific to a different type of team depending on what the organization may need. Who knows, you may need all five depending on the different areas of the organization or different issues that the organization wishes to tackle and how they use their employees. But at the end of the day, these teams have specific type of characteristics. With problem solving, they come together to deal with a negative issue. So they come together to solve something, or they come together to solve a problem and they try to find more problems to solve, just more or less of an efficiency, and try to keep the organization top of their game in their within the industry. But then they have work teams that come together to do daily work. If they have software developers, they may come together to create different types of software, so that their process never really dismantles. They kind of work together on different types of projects and work teams, and as a team continues to formulate these types of work items, they will either culminate the project and then start another. Virtual teams, generally these people are not going to be face-to-face working together in different projects. They're probably across different states or different countries. But at the end of the day, they work together through telecommunication and other information technologies to collaborate and work together. Cross-functional teams are the best, in my opinion, because they bring people of different functions together. And that is such a complex relationship, but it is also the most rewarding in my personal experience. Characteristics include gathering individuals together that really are less than 12 people, and the only reason for that is that it won't be so big that people can't interact and learn and grow, and the team will be more effective. It's just smaller, and that's why we want it small. That's why we want teams. We don't want a big group department together of 40 people. We would rather several small teams coming together, working together on various projects always seem to be more effective. But you also want to think about diversity. You want people whose experience and personality is different. You want that diversity there simply because teams are gathering their strengths and weaknesses from others, and that brings the strength of that team. You need to have that. It's so important when you're talking about teamwork. You don't want everybody who has the same skill as you. You obviously will get stuck at the same point. You want someone who has strengths that you don't have, and then have weaknesses that you have strengths, so that you both can complement one another and enhance the team. These are the stages of team development. Again, there are major aspects of the team, but again, we may stay in one or two of these sections for a good deal of time depending on the team. At the end of the day, team forming and team productivity is going to be based on how long these teams are going to be together, what they're going to be trying to accomplish, whether or not dismantling that team is appropriate, or it would be ongoing teamwork processes depending on what project they'll be working on. Teams work well together when there is some sort of attraction, something that nets them together. It could be the family's relationship. It could be their attitudes about things. But whatever it is, it brings them together so they can work together, and they're motivated and they want to be together. And it is very, very clear that people who like being together and that cohesiveness exists, they are much more likely to be high level performers. Now, again, we were talking about team norms. This is just what each individual expect from the other. It's more informal, but it's more, can it be positive or negative? It might be both. It's just what we share as a group that we're going to expect from each other in terms of our behavior. How are we going to act? How are we going to deal with conflict? And conflict is a big part of human relationships, and it thus can't be avoided. So what we need to do is make certain that we have enough of a good relationship with the people of our team that we can deal with opposing positions and objections to our goals, and that we can resolve those through effective conflict resolution strategies. We don't want to avoid conflict. We just want to be able to deal with conflict. So how do we communicate with one another? We want to make certain that we show that our communication is going to be directly with them face to face. But then there are other times where we're going to be talking to each other through written dialogue. That could be email or in written memos, etc. It allows us to be able to send a message and allow the recipient to decode the message and channel it back to us. All we're making clear here is how important communication is on both sides of the aisle, not just the person speaking or the person who has actually delivered the message, whether it be in writing. It's more about the recipient and how they receive it and how it plays back to them. So it's a circle, and that's important. But we need to consider the cultural context when we're talking with people. And that could be country specific, that could be location specific if you're specific when you're talking about within the same country. And it could be very well just being a female or male, the different ways people communicate, and understanding that, because we want to communicate effectively, and we need to take the entire picture of that individual in consideration when we're dealing with communication so that it'll be effective. Just basic forms of communication, which you are very much aware of. We obviously know our oral communication because I'm thus speaking to you as we speak, as I speak here, but also there's a communication through a written document or some kind of discussion group or internet. Formal would be the same. It could be in writing, it could be a speech or news press release. At the end of the day, these are formal ways of communicating with external parties or internal parties. Informal communication really derives its from maybe rumors. But we don't want to discount this because we really want to know what people are thinking and what they're feeling, and the only way you're going to know that is unless they speak it out loud. So dealing with rumors will allow what people are thinking, dispel the rumors, and bring out the truth so that others and the others within the organization can understand what's going on, and communication can flow without and without being impeded. Nonverbal communication is huge. Why? Because people communicate with their bodies. And we need to make certain that our bodies speak the language that our words are speaking, whether it be written or oral. Why? Because people will not listen to your voice. They will read your body faster than they'll listen to your words. So our body language really communicate messages, and we need to be aware of that. What are we saying with our bodies that we're not saying with our mouths? And know that when you're communicating, because it could be a barrier. How do we listen is just as important as how we speak or how we're spoken to. How do we listen to others who are talking to us? And these are just some aspects of listening, very formal ways of listening. But I would say, are you listening with your mind or are you listening with your heart? If you're listening with your mind, you're more likely to find objections to what the person is saying to you, and be more likely to vocalize that objection. But if you're listening with your heart, with the hopes of understanding and receiving the message, you're more likely to be speaking to them in an active listening type of situation, in a more polite listening type of situation, which means you are more likely to understand the message and deliver it back to the speaker much more accurately. We want to remove the barriers that keep communication flow from being constant. We want the flow to continue. We don't want any backup of our communication. So we got to be very aware of how we listen, not just of how we speak, but how we listen to those who are speaking to us. Writing is just another way to be able to communicate information through language, and it can be done in various ways that you can see here. The main thing is you don't always get the feedback that you like in your writing, but you do provide a record of the message. And again, it's just, what is it about the audience? Who are we speaking to? How do we need to speak to these people? What level of understanding do these people have to the communication that I'm providing to them? That is very important when you're dealing with written communication. The word choice is going to be important. How we're using the words and how the words are framed within the written document is going to be important. Formal communication is the same thing. Who are we talking to? More likely we're going to be talking to people who are either external to the organization or in the case of our supervisors. When we're talking in a formal communication, it may very well be upward. Like myself, every 3 months I had to communicate with the board. They are not on the same level as I. Therefore, it is upward communication, and I have to use very specific language when I'm speaking with them. So consider your organization, consider who you're speaking with, and understand that the flows of commands are in effect here. It's more likely to be upward communication if you're talking with people who are supervisors, managers, leaders of the organization. But if you're speaking with your staff, it would be more of a downward communication. But formal communication is very important and is a big part of the total communication network. And being honest with people and telling them what you know, how you understand it, and it makes the difference, even if it's something negative. We want people to know that they're valued, and that's how to have open communication with them. We want to establish trust. Once we establish trust, we want to keep that trust, and we want to deal with people in a way that we let them know that it's okay to not agree with us, not to understand, but just talk it through so we can resolve issues and allow them to be able to express what they feel in a way that does not threaten them in their job positions or anything, or your relationship with them. Let that open communication remain a very important part of your relationship with your employees. Informal communication is really about how people talk around the water cooler, rumors, and grapevine communication. Why we need to know about this stuff? Because we need to know what people are understanding and what they think, so that we can dispel rumors if they're not true. We can dispel things that are not true and let them have the facts. And facts is more important because employees want to know what's going on. And I think if you have open communication and you're transparent with your employees, dealing with grapevine or rumors is important. Don't make it to be the bad guy, but you certainly want to make certain that you understand that if this is not true, you want to clear things up and communicate what is true, so that employees will be able to guide their actions appropriately. Nonverbal communication, we all know it. How do we look? How do we stand? The tone of our voice, the clothes, everything we do that can be perceived with our bodies is our nonverbal communication. So we need to make sure that we are communicating the message that we intend to communicate. So make certain our words and our body say the same thing. And then it's a skill that is learned. We do not come out of the womb of our parents knowing how to communicate. We learn that through interaction with others. And this is a learning process, and it is something that we all will have to deal with at some point in our careers. External communication is really about third parties, government, and other individuals who are looking for us for information. We got to be honest. We got to deal with crisis right away. And we got to make sure that whatever facts we have, we make it available. If we don't know, we say it. We do not play games with people. We tell them what we know, and we keep them informed. And that is the basis of external communication. As we go through this chapter, just note that this is about how can we develop teamwork, how can we work together, how can we communicate that we can get the most work done, and how can we deal with crisis in our teamwork. And as always, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon.